executive session, Cape Charles Civic Center, June 4th, 2019. Roll call.
Rosen present.
McCoy present.
Strube present.
Howell present.
D'Amico president.
Let it be shown that we have a quorum. Can we all rise for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I assume you don't have any public comments. Do we have any written comments? Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have an approval of the agenda format?
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes. Anybody have any comments, additions, deletions to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve April 2nd, is it? And May 7th. Minutes.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Me? Reports. So the reports, trying to get to it. Okay. So we have the Historic District Review Board. I understand that they're meeting again tomorrow night, or Thursday night, right? And so it says the 4 new members: Diane, Ed Eichmann, Ed Wells, Carrie Shackelford, and then Susan Knight. And there's been nothing about putting a town council person on the board.
Yes, it has. At the last council meeting, we talked about it again, and the mayor was supposed to have contacted you about that. I specifically asked
I
that.
didn't contact
I
you.
know. Well, now we know.
That will have to be a text amendment as well.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
got to come through here, but the
Yeah.
mayor needs to be informing the planning commission to proceed with that. That's why I had gotten to that point on town council.
Okay. All right. So it's not in here. Maybe it is.
I'll follow up with the mayor.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it. It's not in here about the harbor committee working group that 3 of us at this table are on, and along 2 of us are representing the planning commission, and Paul and Sheila represent the town council, and Ralph Orzo and Stuart Smith represent the Harbor Area Review Board. We are really close to coming up with a proposal for the harbor, at least the first step, and we're meeting on Friday, and hopefully at that time we'll come to some conclusion, and then we can go forward from that.
When you say the harbor, it's,
The harbor is the harbor area that's in the zoning ordinance. So it's all that area south, let's see if I can get this right, south of Mason Avenue includes, it also includes the Northampton Hotel. But everything to the west of the hump, so that's Old Cape Charles Road, down to the new access road. Okay? And if you follow the new access road over to Bay Shore, and then you take a left on Bay Shore, and it includes all that area back up over in the stem too. Should be color coded on there. That's what it all. It's all that blue. It's all that blue area.
And so you are saying it's south of Mason?
Right.
There was some question.
It includes Mason Avenue.
There was some question though.
I mean, includes everything south of Mason. So Patrick Haynes buildings are in the harbor.
And how did we determine that?
How did we determine that?
That was up in the air, that was kind of questionable.
Well, that's in our ordinances. So everything that Patrick Hand did, he had to come through the harbor area.
Right.
But I don't know if you're talking about this, and this is what Friday's meeting has to do with. There's still some 120 feet of historic district overlay in that harbor area, and that's where there's.
We're talking about that too, okay?
Okay.
So,
Believe we're talking about that too.
I know. I know. All right, so that's an update on that. Anything else on reports? Okay, the next item is, we have no unfinished business. Any other unfinished business? Okay, new business. Appointment of a new commissioner. So everybody knows that Keith Kostick resigned. And under normal circumstances, a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals cannot be a member of any other boards but except for the Planning Commission. And so, Jim Holloway, who's sitting out there with his lovely wife and town council woman, he previously applied to the Planning Commission and is willing to serve on the Planning Commission as and also be on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
He is on the board.
He is on the board,
Okay.
along with Bill Murphy and who's the other one?
Jenny Weiner.
And Pete.
Yeah. All right, any discussion?
Yeah, I want to know if other applicants have applied.
Any other applicants applied? That's what
No, and it had, when they had already discussed back, and we walked back through the minutes, it was Libby and I, when we had a BZA and planning work session back in 2017, they had discussed that if there was ever an open seat on planning commission, that it would be nice to have sort of liaison to be on both planning and Board of Zoning Appeals. And we looked it up in state code and our ordinance and our bylaws, and BZA normally, as the chairman said, would not be allowed to be on any other board, but because they're so close to the planning.
Okay, again, I have no problems with what's being presented. I'd like to know that there were no other applicants in the wings that had proposed for this position.
There are no other applicants.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask.
All right, any other discussion? So I need a motion to recommend to town council that Jim Holloway be appointed as a member of the planning.
Point of discussion, because this is somewhat unprecedented, it might be a great idea, but in the past, you know, the nominations would be interviewed by members of the town council, And town council would say, okay, you're in, and the person would then show up as a fully confirmed member
Well-
of the planning commission, and we welcome them all. But this endorsement, I think it would be a great improvement on the way we've been doing it in the past.
So
So,
ultimately, town council's gonna have to
Yeah,
approve it.
they have to approve it. That's what it
yeah, but
said.
we've never been involved before. I think it's a great, it may be a precedent now in the future too, to do the same, to know that at least the person going forward is somebody we kind of like or recommend or whatever. So, yeah, I just point that out, that's never happened before in my knowledge anyway. Good.
Thank you.
So, go ahead.
Okay, so I asked for somebody to make a motion to recommend to town council that Jim Holloway's name, Jim Holloway, be appointed as a member of the planning commission.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Comprehensive plan update, all right. I'm sure everybody got to read what was in the agenda package, including the quick notes. So, and I do want to say that your list of references there, Zach, were excellent. It's a good start. So I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I'm sure everybody here doesn't. And so I just went online and lo and behold, I saw the town of Lexington and what they're doing. And that's why I sent out to you all yesterday. I hope everybody had an opportunity to check it out, but you have a packet in front of you that has that in there. It's really well laid out. I've talked to the town planner. He likes it. I like it. I know one other commissioner that likes it, and I've heard a couple of other commissioners say they like it. What I really like about it is several things. One is they have their separate web page on the website, and our planner said that that would happen with us. We would have, under the planning, we would set up a separate website for the comprehensive plan update and kind of follow like they do. You know, you could basically take Lexington and put Cape Cross, but I really also like their schedule. It's thought out. It had some great, it has, everything is documented, and we need to have everything documented because the next time we do this, it's gonna make it a lot easier. So, so the first thing that they did was, you know, after they asked some questions of the plant, of the town, the planning commission asked some questions of the planner, and he responded with those which are documented in there. And then they basically had their first thing was a workshop. So Bill Stram talking as the chair of the planning commission is, if I was thinking, you might want to take a look, if you haven't had a chance to examine everything here, is to do that, and at the next meeting in July, we come back and decide that we want to go this route and try to set a date for sometime in early August to have a workshop. You know, their workshop, they had the town manager and they had some people from the county. It would behoove us to do something like that. Also maybe have somebody from tourism come in here to talk. And this workshop, we'll advertise it and give us plenty of time to advertise it, set up the website and whatnot, and get the AMPDC person, whoever that is, on board to speak.
Just to touch on that, so the contract says the contract talks about 5 meetings that they can be, you know.
involved in.
We can do additional, it's just at additional cost, so.
Is that for 2020?
That is, it was 2019 also, or it was the fiscal year. This
Fiscal year 2019 and 2020, so
But it
does
was-
that roll over to 2020?
It does.
You got 5,000 in this current year that rolls into the next.
Yeah,
Next
it'll.
year, we got 15,000 set aside for.
And one of the highlights that they also, of course, they didn't like to, that the Virginia code does not set, it just gives you things that you must include in your comp plan. It doesn't have a format or anything. So that Lexington, and by the way, the Lexington comp plan is not completed yet. It's supposed to be completed this fall. But they said, hey, the outline that Mount Jackson has is very good and user-friendly. So, can you bring that up?
It's just that second time.
So, first of all, our comp plan is a good comp plan, but it's, if you look at it, it has nothing in it. It's just a lot of words. And it has 2 maps in it. It's 48 pages. Mount Jackson is 50 pages. Go ahead and keep scrolling. It's ranged greatly. I recommend that you look at this. It's got a lot of mock pictures. It's got a lot of graphs. It's got a lot of maps. And it reads well, and it presents well. And that's something that we need to have, and it's a logical sequence. So I would like you all to take a look at that. I haven't read it all, but I read a lot of the portions of it, and it's got some great statistics that we can get that stuff. And
Do you know, the question I have was, the previous one for City of Lexington was 2007.
right,
So they
no,
have
they went 10 years. They're not doing it.
But in any case, the content of that I thought was excellent. Do you have any feel for how that was as compared to this, or are they
No,
looking to?
I haven't seen theirs, but they said they were going to use the same table,
Format
the
as
same content, the same table of contents. That's why I went on there. So, but take a look at that. Maybe something will be on their website, on Lexington's website, before our next meeting. On our last update, we kept it updated, so we would keep that, any corrections or stuff we made were put into the update on the website. So, but I really do like what they did. I think a lot of the folks here do too. So,
I think having a survey sent out.
yeah, I mean, we certainly.
I think.
We didn't do any of that. And, the survey is real simple. We can tailor it, our survey. Sandra says she liked it. Matter of fact, she kind of said, hey, I can hunch of that. I was told by the president of Cape Charles Main Street that we've used SurveyMonkey before. I don't know if the town has anything like that. So we might be able to kind of piggyback off of them. As far as being cost effective and stuff, so and getting that out and surveying and focus, with the things that are going on with Northampton County's comp plan, we didn't have problems, but we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to talk. They have focus groups in the Lexington thing. It's very open. Hopefully we'll get some interest, especially with what's happened to this town in the last 18 months, 2 years.
I said to Bill, when we first started together, the town wasn't interested.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was nobody in town that, I must say this, and I'm from Bay Creek, and a lot of Bay Creek people were on all the boards. They composed most of the boards because nobody in town cared. Then all of a sudden, the street group came on the scene, and oh my gosh, people thought, man, we really have a good town, and maybe we should do something about it. So I think people are involved. I've talked to a lot of the vendors and the people that have businesses, and they're really excited about being part of the town and what the town is going to do. And I think we need to be involved with them and get their input.
I guess the question I would have is, what is the role of PDC relative to what is expected of them? And who's holding these forums and workshops? Because if I go to the city of Lexington, they have a consultant,
Right.
the Berkeley Group.
Right.
Commissioners do not do any of this. They're reviewing material.
Well-
Somebody else was writing and holding this.
And you know, we, in the last iteration, we went, basically, the way it was done is we started at the beginning and just went through it like paragraph by paragraph, you know, and, I mean, a lot of time and effort was expended going through that. And, you know, so, you know, the first effort in 2009 of the comp plan was a great effort, but it was really lengthy. So we cut it down a lot, but I'm telling you, and personally, maybe if you look at the table of contents for Mount Jackson and look at what's under there, maybe we could have something where we have commissioners, all of us, look at those areas and think, that's something I wouldn't mind heading up, all right? I mean, there's eight, I think there's 8 major sections of theirs. There's an introduction, a community, I can't read what I'm writing, community engagement. There's a vision thing, an environment, land use, urban design, transportation, and then the implementation. So, you know, they like the implementation, that's an outcome of everything. But if you take a look at that and see, you know, if you think, you know, this is a democracy, I mean, if you like that and that's what you're suited for, then, you know, maybe you can head that thing up. Because I don't see, if we don't have the hours for ANPDC, and she was here, Elaine Neal was here, like, I mean, she came here every meeting we had, and we had some work sessions too. So.
But again, in what fashion? Guiding the development?
She guided it. Here's the ANPDC did the transportation piece. They did that entirely. She did that entirely because that has to go to VDOT.
Taking traffic counts and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, the traffic counts.
Yeah, see, this is where, again, we have a lot of hand waving.
She pulled out all the census data for us. And they have access to all that stuff. And I'm not saying that we don't here in town, but they have access. But that's where we have to decide, and I think that's where maybe if we could come to some sort of a understanding, you know, like this is the way we want to go, we can have that person here at the next meeting.
Yeah, and that's all I'm asking is we need to define the
And
expectations.
find out.
Well, so, I don't want to share this yet because it hasn't been signed by Larry as the town manager, but it's a scope of work and it includes bullet points as to what they're specifically going to be covering.
All right, so why wouldn't this group that is planning the comp plan update not be privy to that?
It's, like you said, it's not signed yet.
It's not signed yet.
Okay, but why sign it and have an agreement and enforce it on us as opposed to with the developers, right?
Fair enough.
That's all I'm asking
No,
is,
yeah.
cart before the horse here. We should be aware of what is being developed so that we understand the relationship. I don't know the expectations on this group.
That's obvious.
Well,
That's what I'm trying.
and that's why I did what I did, because, you know, I wasn't too, it was kind of like a, you know, you gotta do it, you know, and we had a lot of back and forth, I mean, over little stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And we kept, you know, it was online, so the town council could get that, and in reality, one member, maybe two, of the town council
One, maybe.
was involved.
At the 11th hour, though, you know, when we thought it had been done, we had this extremely valuable set of inputs, extended inputs and all,
At
which
the
was
very last
very helpful, very important, but hey,
But you see,
why now?
you know, if you read the, even though the town council has the say-so over this, the Virginia Code recommends that the planning commission be responsible for the capital improvement program.
Can I add some history here real quick? The last several times we went through the comp plan update, a lot of the grunt work that was done, and it was grunt work, was bringing the plan up to date. Identifying what documents were no longer valid or contributory, what documents needed to replace them, what pros needed to be changed, what was planned earlier that had already been completed needed to be removed. All that back and forth, the planning commission did. What ANPDC did was a lot of the legwork for, like you talked about, the transportation part and also the ownership of the document. We would review it line by line as they came back with it. So, but that's the history of that. Go ahead.
Okay, that's all I want to know is what is expected, is it a repeat performance, and if so, what is that expectation?
Well, and what I hear is there's a whole lot of differences going on that may be good and excellent, but the old school in me is coming out to say, and not to be critical, but to use a somewhat crude analogy. I think the last time around, you think of a Frank Sinatra song. He and Nelson Riddle would work very hard on making sure that the arrangement was right and the orchestra company was right, everything like that. But nowadays, if you were updating that would be the last thing they worry about. It's going to be a cool video. How do we make all these other accoutrements do that? And there's a lot of that going on nowadays, and that's probably what we need. But the first question is, how good is our... Bill said our content was good, so it may be that, we don't spend a lot of time on the content.
Yeah,
we should give an abridged version for everybody in the town, 3 pages, so that any comments they might have could be dendritics, could be fit into someplace in the existing thing. We're not doing a brand new plan.
I agree, but I don't believe the content is adequate.
No,
Oh,
I don't
no.
either. I don't either.
So,
Not now.
okay, that's the first thing, is we have to see, if the content is nowhere right, then we have to redo the whole thing from scratch and throw out the old one.
Well, again, if we go as they did here in Lexington, we're gonna get input from the community.
Correct.
And over the last 18 months, you go out and talk to any realtor over the last 18 months, you can't even, there is not a vacant lot for sale in Cape Charles today. And a lot of younger people are moving here for second homes, but they want to live here permanently. They like it so much. And so, this is that young house love thing and whatnot. But I'm just telling you that we need to get the community's input, because they may say there's some things that we're not aware of that might be on the table. So I think that's
Perhaps the school system?
right. There is a school system in here, and I mean, it talks about that on that.
Yeah,
in here.
and medical and all, that's
I know that.
in the old plan.
I understand, but so I invite you to look over over the next month to look at Mount Jackson's thing.
If we- could we-
Lexington's
Jackson's
thing.
Mount Jackson.
Thank you.
Could you just send us a
I
Mount
will.
Jackson one? We can look it up, but
A link, yeah.
It's a link, it's, you can
Oh, just take
download
the
the
link, that's
PDF,
fine.
you can download the PDF.
does Lexington have a Main Street, do you know?
Yes, they do.
That's a good thing.
And matter of fact, they have some links in there, they have the executive director.
Yeah.
She had a PowerPoint presentation, and she talked to it, and all they have is the audio, but it's in there, about Lexington's Main Street. And,
Okay.
because, you know, we need to feed off some of these organizations here, like Main
Well,
Street,
I mean-
and,
I mean, we're gonna beg the public for input, but the real
I mean,
rubber roads
well,
that come with Main Street,
but
the
it's
other
not,
ones.
it's not just them, it's maybe other civic organizations as well. And we, you know, the stakeholders, and we need to identify the stakeholders. So,
But there ought to be a condensed version of the current plan that they could look at, so that they're just not talking
we
on
don't
top
have,
of it.
we don't
I
have,
mean, we could put it into 3 pages in terms of an executive summary or something, no? Okay. Just bring us back.
Access to the comprehensive plan.
everybody has access to it, it's on the
Yeah,
county's
well, if you
website.
want a collapsed version, if you remember, I put a strengths, weakness, opportunity.
Right, you
whatever,
have that
yeah,
SWOT thing, and that's
that
another
was kind
thing.
of a one
They
Yeah,
talk
page or 2-page
yeah.
condensation.
Residents have other things to do. I mean,
Did everybody get that, his SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats?
Yeah.
I think, being in the business community and talking to our business owners and all, we have, most of the new business owners that are coming into town are 50, 60 years old. They are people who have money. They're willing to open something that they think is going to be good for our town. We have to make sure that we support these people. I mean, really, just like our little Kellogg building. We threw that man to the bush when it came to that garage door. And it's happening at the Parsons building right now. I mean, this man has multi-bucks, but we're not supporting.
Okay, stop.
Go.
Please don't talk like that. We worked so hard with
Well-
him, and we're gonna work hard with him again. We did not throw him under the bus. And being who you are, please don't say that to anybody else. We already have enough trouble as a historic district review board dealing with the public. They're killing me everywhere I go, and they don't even know what they're talking about.
Well, we still have to be involved with the business community.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, there's no question about that.
All right, I have a question. What does ANPDC stand for?
Accomack Northampton County Planning District Commission.
Okay, that's good. So they're gonna do the traffic part of it.
Well, that's what they did they did the entire
That
transportation.
document that Zach references what they're gonna do.
I can give you an update next meeting as to.
Okay.
But that's what they did last time, because they had access to all that, because it does, before the comp plan goes forward, it has to be approved by VDOT, and you know, it takes a little bit of time to do that, so, the transportation piece. But if you look at our comp plan, the transportation piece in there is not, it's not all that great, it's not.
And it projects, a lot of what's in the comp plan doesn't project out.
No, really, I mean, it doesn't, and, so.
It's kind of static
But,
here,
I mean,
as
there's-
of today, and here's the problems of today.
Like there is in here, the 2020, the 2030, and that,
2035.
There should be a 5-year plan, though.
At
A
least.
list of goals for
At
the next
least.
5 years that you can say, we've
that
done.
Mount Jackson had projections out there out to 2030.
So a comp plan is a 10 to 20 year plan.
All right, so let me ask you another question on a comp plan scope. In my view, the harbor master plan should be pulled into the comp
Like,
plan.
definitely, yeah, that's my view too.
Well, and supersede it altogether. The design guide can stay where it is, but the master plan conceptual piece should be pulled in and not referenced out.
Yeah.
Only because it's 2006 and we're talking one town, one plan.
Well, again, again, if you look at this comp plan, and it has specific areas in there, like the harbor, our harbor, it could be in two different areas. It could be a part of transportation.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, I'd like to do away with the 2006 when this effort is finished
Oh, okay.
and retire.
Okay,
Say it served its purpose,
Yeah,
whatever was brought
I see what you're
forward and
saying.
changed,
yeah.
it's now in the
So,
one comp plan. for the
Rather than
town.
update that 2006, just make it a part of our contract.
Correct.
Yeah, that'd be great. If the harbor board is
Yeah,
okay with that.
I'm gonna bring it through town council.
Yeah, they're happy with that. And they, I mean, I hope they'll work with us too in doing that.
Well, again, you're gonna have committees or public meetings. You're not gonna have a public meeting on the railroad area alone. It's gonna be the town and transportation and whatever affects.
And again, you know, we've started this thing with some committees here, kind of ad hoc committees. I'll go to the parking committee, has a cross-section of a lot of people involved, which is great. And now we have this harbor thing. I don't see why, and during, when we do these focus groups and stuff, where, I mean, if we have a volunteer that wants to step and help be on, it's, you know, something that's led by a commissioner on a piece of that, that's great. That's great, you know, that, and that's what we need. We need involvement from the community.
Exactly.
It'd be great.
And I know, I've had it happen to me when I'm preparing briefings, there's a PowerPoint expert somewhere around, maybe Main Street has some, and I just start talking, and when I'm finished, there's this graphic PowerPoint slide saying, is this what you were trying to say? And I go, yeah, that's cool, you know? And I think we need a lot more of that sort of thing, but it sort of has to be on, as we're going through, you know, and very early on, packaging all that stuff.
This is gonna be a long-term project of
Yeah.
building relationships.
It's,
That's basically what it's gonna, well, for it to be a success, we have to get engagement, as you keep hearing, we have to get engagement from all sectors of the community.
All the stakeholders,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
you know, and I think there are certain people within, on the various boards, commissions, town council that know some of the key players that can be the influencers here.
Mhm.
The real estate arena, the business arena, the school, medical, I mean, transportation. I mean, you know, bike paths, I mean,
Would you have then a separate meeting for, say, the downtown business community to talk to us, and a separate one for businesses?
I haven't really looked in detail at the Lexington thing.
Yeah, Lexington did all that. They had
They
one-on-one,
did.
they
They
had
had separate meetings with
one-on-one
different-
meetings with business.
But
people,
that's
they had
the
different
stakeholders, yeah, but I would, yes. I mean, you know, they did the initial survey, and they got pretty good feedback on that, and so, and I'm sure we can find somebody other than maybe AMPDC, even though they're supposed to be pretty good facilitators as part of that, but I mean, I'm sure we can find.
You can maybe go through the universities for help in that particular
Yeah,
area.
that's a possibility too.
Having a third party run those inputs is.
I mean, we have a community college up here, you know, that's a resource as well, so I just really did like this. I mean, it's well thought out, and it was well laid out. Lexington's a big city, not that big of a city.
7,000.
It's got 7,600 as of 2017.
But I mean, they've got
Still small.
two big schools there, and you know, so that's a school town, but
Bill,
it's,
what's the $15,000 that we've allocated from town council and the $5,000, what is that to be used for?
that's for
It's set
AMPDC.
aside. Well, it was set aside,
Yeah.
it wasn't specific
Excuse
to
me,
A, B, and C.
nothing against, we're trying to get meetings to get back in order and not have people from members of the public speak up without signing up for public comment, which was in the beginning of the meeting and closed.
Well, that's,
We have to do it at all boards, because if we start it here, then we'll get back to it.
I was counsel at the last meeting.
Yes,
okay.
so I'm sorry.
So there's
This is
15,
your purview.
there's 15,000 and 5,000 for, set aside for the comp plan.
That's it.
It doesn't necessarily have to go to AMPDC.
Right, but all I'm saying is that I think I'll make a motion that you review this contract before it's signed to understand and agree to the scope. Before Larry signs it.
And why is it broken out, 15 and 5, what's the?
Five for this year, which ends 30th of
Oh,
June.
We were closing, we only have a couple
Okay.
months to work, we put 15 aside.
So between now and July, okay.
So that's all I'm saying is, we're gonna be running the comp plan, you should be aware of what the
Yeah.
agreement is with ANPBC. That's all I'm saying. We don't have to have it as a group, I don't think.
Can you make sure that I'm in the loop on that, Larry?
So if Larry signs this, does that mean we have to use them?
Yeah, it's a contract.
Well, so we definitely don't want to do that. If you
Well, I don't,
Fast.
they have the manpower, that's what these guys are, they're all planners, you know?
And experience with our previous
I
plans.
get it, but you didn't like the way they did traffic, so.
Well, no, I said that they were charged with that. If you look at our comp plan, but they got the input from us. Okay? I mean, we did it, I mean, it, you know.
That's our bad, not necessarily
It's not
theirs.
necessarily, I mean, there was one, two, there were several people that were new to the comp plan process. I was one, and Sandra was one, but you two
Yeah, we started from the beginning with,
that had been on a previous ones, and there was Joan Natale was there, and she had basically written two things at a
That's
time.
right.
So, all I'm saying is,
We can do better.
I don't wanna recreate a wheel, but if you have something that's good, and
Yeah.
this thing here has a pretty good process, let's look at it some more and then decide at our next meeting, that's the way we wanna go. And please take a look at the Mount Jackson comp plan.
Is that gonna be sent to us?
a link to it.
I like that, okay. I really think that our town will really step forward and want to be part of it.
Let's hope
I
so.
really hope so.
We'll do it.
Last time
We've had, there are some people that are pretty good with audiences. So maybe we can, like this workshop, kickoff, we can have some, a couple people come and talk. We can have, by that time, we may have the Main Street Executive Director, or her, without her absence, could have a Main Street President. There are people.
The last time around, all we had, there was no Main Street. The so-called business association wasn't quite together, and we couldn't get responses.
No, it's fortunate we had Andy,
Yeah, but
because.
that's all we had, but
But
we're gonna get much more this time around. And it's not because we didn't want it before, it's just, we were kidding.
okay. Anything else on the comp plan?
I do want to just re-emphasize that this is a town initiative, it's a town comprehensive plan. Public involvement is of the utmost importance in every single phase. However, it should be ran and facilitated and governed, and every document should come through planning commission and town hands.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And there shouldn't be any favoritism towards board members, towards demographics, ethnicities, social economic groups, etc. I understand that, of course, the business community is a huge thing here, but there's a lot of other people that aren't involved in the book,
But the business community is here to serve the public.
Exactly.
And the public is our residents, tourists, so.
Yeah, definitely.
And the new kiosk in the plaza is gonna have the lights flashing. Get involved with the comp plan, you get everything No, I mean, that's being somewhat facetious, but that, we gotta figure out ways that
Oh, yeah, there's.
everybody
In
knows.
this, it says, what is a comp plan? A lot of people have no idea what the comp plan is.
And a lot of them don't want to know, you know, that's why we're here, but we gotta get the message out somewhere or another, and we can try. And
I think what I'm hoping I'm hearing is that as opposed to having one big meeting that anybody can come to, we're gonna try to have smaller meetings that we target who we
Focus
wanna talk to.
meetings.
Then we can have a big meeting that.
And
everyone
target the
can-
subjects that you want to talk to, like, also.
Yes.
You don't want it just wide open,
Yeah.
it's one of the subjects.
And based on the size of the community we have and the amount of work we gotta do, it wouldn't surprise me if we have more than one presentation at one of these meetings for aligned groups that all play to the topic at hand, so that you get, not necessarily chaos, but you get a richer feedback. And you can broaden the scope of what you're asking about at the same time, and maybe get, you know, multiple birds shot with one shot.
does anybody read the Gazette?
Well, I know it goes out, but that's the key here is
Yeah,
communicating.
definitely.
I mean, so, I hear you. I hear you. We have a website, town has a website, you know, they have the Gazette. So I hear you. Okay, they have Facebook.
Okay,
All right.
so.
Okay.
We want public input.
I know.
If nobody gives it, we gotta move on and get
Yep.
the job done.
I think we can do it.
Okay.
We have the wherewithal to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't force people. to-
I know, you can't, but if I look at what's happened in the past, at some of these sessions, like with Main Street, and there was pretty good turnout, so.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest something, and you take it with a grain of salt. Some of the high drama this town has had is because certain people, who will remain nameless, they figured out how to get people's attention by invoking extraneous drama. All I'm suggesting is we learn from that strategy, not necessarily duplicate it, but if we can figure out some way to dramaticize some of this stuff in context, I think that will be a step in the right direction, that's all I'm saying. And maybe the pictures is the first step, but get something more interesting.
Yeah, right. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? All right. So, next item is the proposed text amendment. Town zoning ordinance article 4, section 4.5 and section 4.6, subsections A through F review.
Could you make it
So,
full screen?
so we left this off 2 months ago, right? And so, come back to a
So I'm gonna give an update on what I have changed per our discussion. So just to go back to where we are, we decided that we were gonna go A through F first, right? We got pretty good last time, pretty good distance. So review procedure, read each subsection in order, discuss the regulation, form a consensus on any recommended changes, then proceed to the next regulation. If a consensus is not able to be reached, table specific regulation for further review. Review definitions as they come up through each section. That little star, proposed definition on the word on the following slide, so we see that. Red is proposed definitions and changes by staff, and then green is a new one. PC recommended changes from the 4/2/19 meeting that we've already agreed upon that I've updated. So general requirements, I added in A3, I added or established, so no addition or change of use to an existing building shall be constructed or established. We discussed that, and that was agreed upon. Regulation, we took out regulation, we took out prepared by the department, and so it reads development standard or other requirement adopted by the governing body. Parking lot or parking garage, took out motor vehicles to incorporate all different types of vehicles. This was an item that we decided to come back on. So, I think a key thing that I had realized when we were discussing this, pull back. This is under, so it says, yeah, well, I just decided, I made this recommendation and we can keep going with it, or figure out a different way, but essentially any repairs deemed an emergency by the zoning administrator exempt from this requirement is just something that I just suggested to put in there as, because our conversation was based off of, you know, how do we keep, gosh, I didn't bring the, essentially, so if you look at the staff report, I've written it all in the staff report. So we talked about, so it says after much discussion, the consensus was to revisit this section. Previous discussion included possibly adding major repair, adding licensed repair work. This section is specifically talking about non-single family residential districts, not homeowners doing repair on their vehicles in their driveway. So I think that was something that we might have been confused on last time, because Paul.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that's right.
Except that confuses me, because where does it say that?
That would be under,
I'm looking at 4.5A5, right? A5, yes. And it doesn't say in there anything about that it doesn't include single family. See, this section is specifically talking about non-single family residential districts, so where does it tell us that?
If you look at the specifics above A, there's a reference to section 4.5.1.b dash minimum parking space requirements table, sales and retail of goods. That's commercial. It's not residential. You see that? In the
No,
specifics?
say that again.
Okay. In the specifics bolded section above A, you're 8.4.5.A3, right? Or 8.5.
A5.
Just go up to the prior paragraph.
So are you adding that paragraph?
No, you maybe I misunderstood what your
I'm
question
looking
was.
at this, which is what, I'm looking at this, and then I'm looking at what he sent us tonight. So this is what we had last time.
Okay.
This is what we have tonight. And he said, and this says,
Okay, we don't have that section I just referenced in this.
right,
These are general requirements for off-street parking.
all right.
I don't remember how I got that. I'm sorry, this has been such a busy week. So I don't remember why I came to that conclusion, but we can come back on it
I
again.
think it's a great conclusion though, so somehow you need to find
I
out
know,
who did it.
Well, the question we had here, emergency, what does that mean? And how can I contact the zoning administrator on weekends?
Exactly, that was
During
my,
hours?
what he said.
So it's, how practical is that? That's really what we talked about.
Well, here's the situation, why it says by any repairs deemed an emergency by the zoning administrator. So if it's on the weekend and someone complains about it, it's just like any other situation where if someone's painting a mural on the side of a historic building on the weekend, you know, that's the same situation. It's, the zoning administrator has to do something about that, you know. Later, and if it happens, then it happens. But then if it's still going on Monday morning, then that's when I will go out there because I would have gotten complaints or something like that. If it's still going on as a repair is going on, and you know, I discussed with the person who's owning it that, you know, hey, my battery died, I just got the battery today, and we're, you know, putting it in and go
So the police would not stop you from doing that?
No, so really the whole purpose of this A5 is so that people aren't just parking their car for a month and just doing, you know, some crappy junk car that they bought and they're just repairing it, fixing it up in a commercial area, or leaving their car there for long periods of time for selling your vehicle or something like that, you know, sale, repair, dismantling, servicing, or long-term storage. So this is what we're trying to not have happen. So that's the intent.
This is uncovered, this area, correct?
It doesn't matter if it's covered or uncovered, well, we gotta figure out why it's a commercial item.
We don't have any places that are covered.
You're talking about like if it could be in a parking garage or something, eventually,
Well,
yeah.
again, this is
Still-
off-street parking, this whole heading in section 4.5 is
So-
off-street parking.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But we can again come back to it because I just don't remember why I put that in there. I know that I was like, oh, this is a huge, like, grand idea that I had. I was like, oh, that's why, but now I don't remember why I had that. So I'm sorry about that. We can come back to it. Just don't want to waste y'all's time. Okay, so that was all day that we changed, and then we kept everything else other than what I've shown in green there, and we'll come back to the red, what we just discussed. So project, the entire proposed development, took project out, because project shouldn't be used in the project definition. So B2A,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
In the notes you sent us, there's B12A with red.
yeah, that's the next one. That's where we're going to right now. That should be B1, or I think it's B2A. It's just a typo right here.
Okay, all right.
But it's the same, this is the same as we're looking right here.
Okay.
So,
The one, that one question, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
so on this one, there was, consensus was to increase the maximum, instead of having it at 100 to maybe something different. It was proposed possibly 110%.
Right.
There was also discussion on specifying zoning districts instead of making this a general regulation applying to all districts. I personally don't agree with that, but we can discuss it more. I'll show what I am proposing, and then we can discuss that also. So I changed it to 110%. So you can go 10%. You can go 110%, build 110% parking, but not more without approval by BZA as a variance to this section. And then on top of that, though, I added B, which says any parking not included within a parking structure between that 100 and 110% would require it to be a pervious paver, so like a grasscrete or grass pave, similar to something like this. So that would be over your 100%. It would be like you're building an impervious surface spot with pavers or grasscrete or something like that. So you're not adding to that pervious surface even more over the standards that we've deemed the minimum, if that makes sense. So that's where you get something similar to this, but it would exactly read as it stated in B that shall use grasscrete or grass pave or other pervious paving or paving systems as approved by the zoning administrator.
So the idea is for that extension to be available for runoff to go through.
Yeah, it's essentially we're allowing you to have a little bit more parking than the minimum, but you're still not adding that pervious surface, which deals with
Impervious
runoff.
surface, right?
Impervious. You're not adding to the impervious surface. Yeah, you're right. So you like it, or have any concerns or questions?
No, it makes sense.
And this is minimum number of parking spaces required in any zoning.
Yes.
Okay.
So all of these uses that you see on that use table, those are going to apply to every zoning. So this would also apply to that. This is all districts. Alright. So now we're done with B. So that's 2 sections down. Alright, so these are I mean, this is so small, but, just change the, you know, the colons, you had requested that, Bill requested that. So y'all had all mentioned that, we needed to add duplex and condominium as a definition. We'd added, you know, we had changed up multifamily and all that, but y'all were specifically wanting duplex and condominium. So these are the suggested definitions for those items.
I find the duplex a little confusing because it says, okay, it's designed as a single structure, it's got 2 separate dwelling units. Each of those dwelling units has direct access and each can be occupied by 2 families. Each dwelling unit can be occupied by 2 families, that's 4 families.
Each of which is designed or arranged to be occupied by 2 families living independently of each other.
Each duplex.
So
Each duplex.
maybe take out each, is that what we're thinking? Of which is designed or arranged to be occupied by 2 families living independently of each other.
So I think that each of which can come out.
Okay. So it would read, each of which has direct access to the outside and is designed or
Right.
arranged to be occupied by 2 families living independently of each other.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense. That's
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Will these definitions appear in Article 2?
Yes.
Okay.
And then condominium, did anyone have any questions about that one? All right. We changed this, so single family dwelling, we took not more than out. Home occupations, we concluded that there should be no additional spaces required on top of what is actually under the home occupation. And then accessory dwelling units, I just didn't add it last time, but 1 space per bedroom.
All right. If you have an accessory dwelling unit in R1, you really, are you in R1 required to have parking? It's public street.
Off-street, this is off-street again.
Yeah, it's off-street parking. You are required, if this, well, so right now you're actually required, because the ordinance does specify that as it went through that accessory dwelling unit update. But yeah, so you would have to add an off-street parking space of at least 1 space per bedroom, is what this would read. So you currently, you know, if you were building a new home in the R1 district, we had changed that, taking out the historic district, but as of right now, you would have to put in at least 2, I believe it's at least 2 parking spaces, and then you would have, if you were gonna also build an accessory dwelling unit, you would at least have to have 1 other space if it was 1 bedroom. So you
And
have
it
to
would have to be off
off-street,
street.
exactly.
And is that right now, or that's a change we want to make?
It's right now, but I didn't add it in the last
I see.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's how that would read. Well, so it is slightly different. So it reads now, this was what was approved, 1 space per accessory dwelling unit minimum. Otherwise, 1 space per accessory dwelling unit per bedroom. Or 1 space per accessory dwelling unit bedroom. Which to me is confusing, so I just did 1 space per bedroom. Does that?
Yeah.
It's fine, it's okay. It's fine.
Alright.
Now, okay, I hate to pick at this, but I happen to know an accessory dwelling unit that is a single room. So if it has a bed in it, do you call that a bedroom?
Yes, so what would be an accessory dwelling unit?
Doesn't it have to have a closet to be called a bedroom?
No, so how an accessory dwelling unit works is it has to have 3 things. It has to have all 3 things. You can have 2 and not be an accessory dwelling unit. It has to have at least a kitchen, a bedroom, and a bathroom. If it just has a kitchen and a bedroom, it's not an accessory dwelling unit.
But you could have a kitchen and a bedroom in 1 room.
Wait, so I don't understand this.
Well, you just said, you're using the word bedroom, and I'm just saying,
You could have an
if
open,
it has a bed in it, is it a bedroom?
No, no,
Even
no.
if it's a living room and a dining room and a kitchen?
No,
Like a studio,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
A studio,
it wouldn't count as a bedroom, no.
So then you would not have to have a parking space for that?
It wouldn't be an accessory dwelling unit if it's a studio.
Really?
So,
yeah, I don't think we ever define, when it comes to accessory dwelling units, walls within.
Uh-uh.
We talked the three requirements. So to me, the studio can become an accessory dwelling unit, but that's just me talking.
if
Well,
it has
if-
those three, if it meets those three requirements,
so if they had a studio, if they had, yeah, I guess. I see
Why
what
wouldn't
you're
you
saying.
call it an open floor plan?
That's correct.
Yeah, I see what
That
you're
is
saying.
correct. And
you
hopefully
could have
bathroom
a
walls.
kitchen at one side and a bedroom on the other side, and, you know, a living area.
And hopefully
And it has a
bathroom
separate
is
bathroom,
full.
I understand that.
I see what you're saying. So do we need to say, do we need to change that then?
Yeah.
How should we change bedroom?
Why don't you just say, why don't you, if it's obvious that it's gotta have a bed, can it just be
But again,
one space per accessory dwelling unit?
Yeah, that will work, but again, you can have it large enough where you split with a wall and have two bedrooms.
I was gonna say, how many bedrooms can you
So
have in
that-
an accessory dwelling
It
unit?
depends on the size of the dwelling
Yeah.
unit. There's a minimum, or a maximum size. that
They
you
were
have,
talking up to
depending on the lot and
3.
everything.
Given-
Okay, but the maximum size would allow how many bedrooms?
It just, well, I don't know, it just depends on,
How you?
I guess, the building code and how large that constitutes a bedroom, but then it also depends on, you know, your primary structure and how much floor.
I think when it was first drafted, there was certain square footage associated with 3 bedrooms. And that all came out.
I guess I'm concerned because the front of most people's lots is 40 feet. So if you've already got at least 2 cars parking there for the people who live there,
Yeah, but
and
most-
then you have one off-street parking for your accessory dwelling unit and don't speak to the fact that you've got 3 bedrooms, it could be he's housing 3 separate couples, what do you do with those other 4?
We would
more
know that
couples?
though, because they have submitted floor plans to Jeff Brady, the code official, who approved their plan to build a 3-bedroom accessory dwelling unit.
And if you look at the one on Fig and Randall,
Yeah.
they came in with the last go-around, they have parking right behind it.
Oh, I know that, that's great,
All
that
three.
was great, that was no problem.
We would know how many bedrooms they have.
Oh,
I
I
think the
know.
studio situation is the situation that I'm concerned about, but even if they were to come in and say, hey, they have to get a permit to build a wall in between their two, to make 2 bedrooms. And then at that point, it's like, well, you have to.
But I'm still saying, what do we put in the definition
The definition for an accessory dwelling?
for the amount of parking?
I think this is fine, the way it is.
1 space per bedroom? Provided you call anything with a bed in it a bedroom.
You're right.
Right.
We're not defining it.
But
right.
what if you put 2 beds in 1 big space?
Yeah.
A hotel rooms do that, right?
You'd have 1 space per bedroom. That would be 1 bedroom with 2 bedrooms.
You could have 4 beds in it, but it'd still be 1
Yeah, you
bed.
could have 6 bunk beds.
So you're only requiring 1 off-street parking space for 4, 6 beds. How is that helping?
We can always increase it if that's your concern.
What do you,
Yeah.
okay, so what is the definition of an accessory? One of the things about accessory dwelling units is that we wanted to have the opportunity for people to, maybe because of the expense, we're talking about workforce housing. So what you're saying is, well, maybe they have 2 beds in there, and 2 teachers share that accessory dwelling unit. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, or 4.
And they both have a car.
Because if you're a waitress there,
Right.
waiter, you don't mind putting 4 people in a room. If you can afford that, because how much money are you making? I mean, what we call affordable housing is really not affordable for our working community.
I'm aware.
So to make it affordable, it's gonna have to have 4 people in it. So if you take money and you put 2 beds in it for 4 people, then you've got 1 off-street parking space and 3 that have to find somewhere to park somewhere.
So I'll tell you this, Jeff does inspections for rental units, you know, for homes that are doing Airbnb, et cetera.
Mhm.
And they can have up to 10 people occupancy. That could be a 3, you know, I don't know how many bedrooms, that could have 3 bedrooms, you know? You're not gonna make someone who has a 3-bedroom home require 10 parking spaces. Off-street park, they wouldn't be able to do it, that'd be impossible, it'd be their whole yard would be parking. So there's gotta be somewhere where you draw the line. We can move forward with, 1 space per bedroom if we see as a conditional use permit comes up, because everyone has to get a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit. That can be discussed as to, we require more parking, or, we're concerned about the parking, how are you handling that situation? It could be that, or, we could go with something like 1 space per bedroom, or we could increase it to 2 spaces per dwelling unit.
I think it's fine. You brought up a great point next to the rental market here. I mean, you have 3 families sharing 1 rental unit, they have 3 cars,
And a boat, and a trailer.
so. Yeah, I don't see any problem.
And we do have a major parking problem. It's getting worse, if you were here on Memorial Day.
That's why we're getting these.
Yeah.
So can we just do like who's in favor of it, and if we got majority?
Could you do it by square footage?
Could you do it by square footage?
Yeah, would that make more sense?
That's how accessory dwelling units were defined, bedrooms by square footage, and we said, too complicated, get it out.
Square footage of beds?
No,
I think that's,
let's take a, I think it's okay.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
All right, these were changes, so hotels, motels, that we discussed. And, they're in your staff report if you have any questions on them. This is just for your information,
Right.
just to show you all the changes that I made, and we'll have it in each one.
On an extended stay motel hotel where it says containing 6 or more guest rooms, if it's less than 6 guest rooms, what's that called?
Under the definition, you mean?
Yeah, under definitions.
I guess it wouldn't be considered a extended stay hotel or motel. Could be it could be a B&B, could be I don't know, that's a good question.
So it has to fit in a definition somewhere.
So what's the difference between 9 and 10? If it's not 10, it's 9?
Well, an extended stay is, we would define it as, contains a kitchen facilities, you know what an extended stay is. It's got a kitchen, you can live in it for like a week or something or longer.
Okay, so where does that definition reside?
It's in your.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I don't have a problem with the definition, I just was wondering what it would be if you had 5.
Yeah, that's a good point, so I think that's something that we need to look
Maybe a
at.
pillow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll revisit it and we can come back to it if that's okay, for the definition. All right, I changed owner and legal beneficial, took out owner, put title holder.
Can we go back to innovator space? What is an innovator?
I don't think we've done innovator space yet.
It's above owner on my
I
list.
know, but that's.
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't come to that.
Okay.
All right, so this is where we left off. This is new stuff. So, sales and rentals of goods. So this is general sales and rentals of goods, merchandise, or equipment, non-motor vehicle related, one space per 300 square feet of gross floor area. I mean, you can read it, I think it's counterintuitive. I forgot to try to read it too. But do y'all have any questions on either of these two? These I changed because we defined what they were, we figured out the parking, but then we were like, well, these aren't really, they're not residential, so we've got to move that from the residential category. Really the only place it fits is sales and rental of goods, rental being, you're renting the rooms, so that's kind of where I'm off of. Does that work for y'all? There's really no other category that works for hotel and motel. It's kind of like a commercial residential hybrid,
Goods? You're talking about renting space, not
Yes.
equipment. But that title says equipment.
I mean, I literally just threw it in here because
No, it's okay, I'm just saying.
we can put rental of goods in something different. I don't know.
Yeah, I would prefer, goods should probably say living areas or something like that. That's all I'm saying. Because that looks like it's a different category. The content's valid.
Mhm.
I'm just fussing about the title, that's all.
Yeah. So how it would work is like someone, even a developer would say, okay, I'm building a hotel. I would say, okay, look at parking regulations. They're not going to really look at, okay, well, it's under sales and rentals of goods. That doesn't really mean hotel. They're just going to look at, okay, hotels, one space per one.
Yeah, okay.
It's not going to be like a deal breaker for someone, and I don't think it's not going to get us in any legal trouble or anything like that to put it in that category. I mean, that's just me advocating for it being here as opposed to residential or its own category.
Got it, understood, okay, all right.
Okay. Restaurants, one space for 100 square feet of gross floor area.
We're gonna get some feedback from the community on that, I'm sure. That's okay,
Yeah,
that's what this is all about, getting their feedback.
Event center, one space per 3 seats.
What is it for restaurants now?
Restaurants now is,
There's more.
it's like 250 to 300 maybe.
And does a restaurant have to serve food to be considered a restaurant?
Yes, I'm sure it does.
So what is a distillery?
The distillery does
Not
not
really.
serve food. It would be, so I'm pretty sure I've included something that would constitute a distillery in this as we go through. But it wouldn't be a restaurant.
And so you're requiring more spaces for restaurants? Is that what you're saying? Less spaces.
Less parking. All of these are either going to be the same or less required
Okay.
parking than what currently exists. I'm an advocate for it. Okay.
You get a sense for it yourself, getting yourself in for it?
Restaurant, I mean, it has standard with no drive-in, carry-out, fast food with no drive-in, delivery only, catering. It's just way too complicated, but essentially it's all per 100 square feet of gross floor area, so it's the same. Okay, and then event center definition.
Do you consider the Palace an event center? Palace Theater?
That would, probably be,
So right now they're not required to have any parking?
well, it's in the historic district.
Well, theaters are under recreation.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I have to look and see.
Zero theaters.
Yeah.
What is the reasoning behind adding the
Still the
word?
same, still the same.
Or Performing Arts Center.
What is the reasoning behind adding the word wide to that fourth line, 1, 2, 3, fourth line?
Yeah,
I think that's, I don't think that adds any value at all.
let's take it out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fine. All right.
If you have a certain number of spaces required or no spaces required right now, so let's say the Palace Theater, and they want to make some kind of a change, then they might fall under this?
It would be like if they made an addition. Like in addition to their, then yes, they would be, they would have to come, if they're making an addition, like say they're building up, you know, they're adding a whole, and it covers the whole, you know, I don't know how many square feet it is, but then yeah, they would have to meet that parking requirement of whatever theater is, 300 square feet that goes to the area, or get a variance from it. But, you know, in this situation, it's 600 feet from the gravel parking lot, there's a C1, you know, there's that regulation there. Yeah, so,
That gravel parking lot.
but they would have to do that, but really, and that's a big thing that we need to look at if someone was to build up, but, you know, the existing that's there now, we don't want, I don't think that any of us, even the town, wants to see something like 207 Mason get destroyed to put a parking lot, you know? We don't want to see someone have to remove part of their historic building in order to expand, or to change a use, you know? Whether that be a hardware store turning into a grocery store, or something like that. That might require more parking. Alright. Motor vehicle related sales and service operations and modifications. One space per 200 feet of floor area, not including the display of the bars. Services, these are pretty much all types of services. 200 square feet of gross floor area. One space. I don't know if we'll ever see these things, but they're in there. Baseball batting range, 20 spaces. Bowling alley, well, you know, Meatland could have been a little
Back
more.
up. The services in the right-up here
Yeah.
originally was 300. Motor vehicle services.
In here it's 300,
Yeah.
then it should be 300, that's a typo. That's a typo on that. Unless y'all want it to be 200. Alright, so that will actually read 1 per 300.
Okay.
Alright. Golf driving range and or miniature golf, 20 spaces. Health club, 1 space per 300 square feet of gross floor area. Park, playground, community center, swimming pool, other recreational facility as a principal use, 20 spaces. Indoor theaters, 1 space per 3 seats. Performing arts center, 1 space per 3 seats.
Now, just with the parks and the playgrounds and all that stuff, isn't that really contingent on how big we're talking?
The size of the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thought.
Well, how many spaces are there for our current park? Parking spaces.
But if we were to create something over in the railroad area, you know,
There really is.
1 acre versus 4 acres, or, you know, a corner.
Yeah, the thing about that is, you know, if we built like a 5-acre park or 4-acre park there, we don't want to put a square foot or an acre requirement on this to where it's like, oh, well now it's like, a lot of that space is going to be a big parking lot, you know? Because we want people to have,
Well,
almost
all
half
I'm
the
saying though,
parking.
this kind of locks you in
Yeah,
right
yeah.
to a
The
number.
property behind
It could be a really small park and 20 spaces is huge.
the property behind
The library.
no, out there off Old Cape Charles Road,
Uh-huh.
the second where they're building, he's building those the apartments.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The quads.
Uh-huh.
Town owns the property behind that, right? Because we talked about, and how many acres is that?
No, I think he owns that whole strip. He started with the building on one. We own Kent Properties
Yeah,
in
that's-
New Wells that is a separate.
I think that's-
But I thought we owned that property about back there because they were talking about putting in a possible
I
playing
think,
fields and stuff.
yeah, I think they were talking about the Keck property.
The Keck property is the property next to it.
Right.
That's behind that one,
Right, there's
one
three
house.
houses that separates the quads that are going in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think that's a really good question. Do we want to put like a, I don't know, how should we, how do you think would be the best to address that?
What are we addressing? Say it again.
So,
Besides the park,
the size of the park, if it's 20 spaces, or if it could be smaller parks, less spaces. We could have thresholds up to 20 spaces maybe, or something like that.
The thing that I'm a little concerned about right now is I'm noticing, maybe you are too, but I'm noticing there are a lot of people coming here for the day. Or staying outside of town and coming into town. Well, they would be using the park. So if you're saying 20 spaces, you're thinking, oh, well, people could bike or they could walk. Well, not if they're not in the town. So in general, I'm in favor of this less parking, but I think we have to be really, really, really careful about that.
But you also gotta think, we have tons of off-street parking, especially by the playground. So our town is built to where
By the
it's
playground.
by the Central Park
Park.
playground. That's what I'm thinking of, is people using that playground. There's so much access to within a 5-minute walk to that park for on-street parking.
I'm not all that interested in somebody parking in front of my house so they can walk to the
But
park.
legally, they're allowed to park there.
Yeah, they are, but that is not gonna fly too much, I think, because already people are complaining about that. So if you're putting more pressure on neighborhoods,
Maybe a little bit off.
You gotta think of the economic impact of taking more land for parking as opposed to any other type of use that could be.
but it's also talking about new construction.
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna impact what currently is there.
So,
But I'm just saying hypothetically.
I mean, for example, if we put a park in the harbor, and if we had this approved that says there's gotta be 20 spaces associated with that,
right?
okay?
And then you put all those new houses and businesses that you're talking about next to that park and the rest of that area.
But you see, you know, this can be done in many ways. Okay? It can be done as part of the road structure, and you can have the parking built in, okay? So,
Yeah, good idea.
but, I mean,
But where does it say that that is gonna be done?
it doesn't, but it can be said when, that's the most likely piece of property that's gonna be developed here in the future,
Yeah,
and, we can dictate that. I mean, you know, if it's like a planned unit development. So,
I know, and I'm hoping you will, but what happens if that doesn't happen? With everything else that you're going through the
they
planning
still
and
have to go,
development?
they still have to go through the zoning piece, I mean, so. I
They
mean,
have to provide parking
Yeah,
for our current.
but they don't have to provide enough parking to cover the extra people who go into the park.
Well, I mean,
And how are
that's,
you gonna feel as a business person if the people go to the park are parked in front of your store?
it's happening, it happens
Here's the
here.
thing on that, if the people can
They
park.
park in front of our store and go to the beach.
Well,
Right.
here's the thing too though, if they park in front of the playground, they're never walking past your store. That's a true thing.
You know what? Shopping is a really critical thing for people who come to visit. So you're not, if people are going to the beach and they're not shopping because they're at the beach, they're not planning on shopping. Everybody else plans on shopping.
You know,
So-
I mean,
I understand I'm picking again, but I'm just concerned that we don't get too crazy about minimizing the number of parking spaces.
I understand that, you know, we could also say that during festive Fridays, that owners and the health
Yeah.
that work at those businesses, guess what? They didn't park the way here businesses.
You're
Remember, they parked right there.
Some did and some didn't.
We have
You're
some
absolutely
that,
right.
majority
So
of
we
them,
may put this,
we have
with a couple
we
of
have
lacking numbers.
I mean, right now, I mean, we could be dead horse to
Or
death
let's
here, but,
take it out too.
so.
You know, before we had on this events, I'm just looking at, first of all, on subdivision area, it's broken down, 200 square foot of surface area for a swimming pool requires a space. Tennis court, 2 spaces per 500 square foot for a clubhouse. You know, so we break it down under the subdivision rec area. We may want to consider that also then under this other one that we're just talking about, item 5. The previous requirements for item number 5 was currently as determined by the zoning authority.
So you're saying make 5 more like 8?
That's all
Specify
I'm
spaces.
questioning, yeah, I'm just questioning, depending on the size of item 5, any one of those items, 20
Right.
may be too many, too small,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need some more flexibility.
okay,
yeah, I like that.
I do too.
I'll draft something and
Okay.
talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, then there's subdivision recreation area, you just mentioned. Marinas, 1 space per 4 dry slips, plus 1 space per 2 wet slips. That was just taken from Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm not a marina person, I know nothing about boats, so, I'm not, yeah, I just had to take it from something different. But people who are, you know, might be able to speak to this a little bit better. Any questions or anything about these two?
No.
Alright, manufacturing. So 1 space per 2,000 square feet of gross office, plant, and or storage area. Here's your innovator space, 1 space per 500 square feet of gross floor area.
So you were asking Diane about
What
both
is
that?
an innovator space?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna define it here.
Well,
I saw the definition and that
Yeah,
didn't help.
Okay, I'll describe it. So manufacturing, etc., there's a lot listed on here. Processing, creating, repairing, renovating, etc. So it covers pretty much all manufacturing.
Have you ever been to Alexandria, Virginia? You ever heard of Torpedo Factory?
Yeah,
That's an innovator space.
Yeah.
that's an innovation.
Or like on
It's
City
like
Market.
a pop-up, you know,
Atlanta.
you have a big open space and you say, we're gonna put in pop-up
Oh,
tees and things and stuff.
well, okay, so that's like, on Mason Avenue, there's 1 space, okay, does it mean, that had multiple independent businesses inside it?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Oh, what makes that an innovator?
I mean, what else? I mean, it's just a description.
Arts and
of it.
crafts, and
I thought it was people coming up with innovative ideas.
I mean, it kind of is. I think that's
Well,
the
I think they
idea, is
are.
they're innovators and
The
they're
term that was
using space.
used at the time by the one who was, by somebody who was familiar with it, was incubator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we still have it.
but this is the definition for that. Which, we all know, I know what it is, so I can deal with it, you know, okay, well, that falls under innovator space, you know, or. Alright. Storage and parking, 1 space per 2,000 square feet of gross floor area. Service enterprise related to animals, 250 square feet of gross floor area. Funeral-related services, 1 space per 3 seats. Education, public and private
Whoa,
school.
go back. What do you
Yeah.
mean by seat?
Yeah.
For like a funeral, like if you're at a funeral, typically people sit down. In a
So if they
funeral
have
home,
the
a funeral
service in the funeral home.
home.
Now, see, that's a place where I would say no parking required, because how many funerals do you have? I live 3 doors from a funeral home. And when they have a funeral, oh well. It just doesn't happen that often, so I
It
guess,
just takes up the street parking for like 2 hours or so.
yeah. So I would just, if I was a funeral director, I'd just never have seats there. Unless it was, I'd have something else.
I'm fine with that.
So no parking required?
No.
No,
No seats. I mean, it says currently 20 spaces per chapel or 25 or 0.25 spaces per seat, whichever is greater.
Yeah.
We're saying 1 per 3 seats, so.
And if they don't have seats, then obviously I would have a discussion, you know, we'd figure out the consequence.
Yeah.
Public and private schools offering general education courses, and then there's a whole definition of including. 2 spaces per classroom for K through 8, plus 1 space per teacher or staff member for grades 8 and above.
Now, if the Christian school were coming to us today, under this, well, would they have to meet these spaces? And would it have to be a separate parking lot,
It would have to be off-street parking,
off-street parking?
unless they got a variance.
Or variance, right?
But there is, as we'll get to, there's a section that talks about, you know, if they're, how they can use on-street parking to, you know, take away from the amount of off-street parking and how that can work out. We'll get to it. Because somewhere like where the Christian school is located is not gonna impact beach and tourists, so it could be more, you know, more on-street parking is okay, kind of thing. Trade or vocational schools, 10 per classroom. College, universities, community college, 10 per classroom.
Go back. What's the including? What's that about?
It's on your list. I just didn't put it on that slide because it's a lot.
Oh, okay, no problem.
It's on there, yeah.
All right.
Definitions: private. Property stormwater conveyances owned by individuals, corporations, other organizations, and not by city, county, state, or federal. And then public is essentially the opposite: government owned, government operated.
What do you mean by stormwater conveyance?
Like a stormwater easement or storm drainage system that they've included on the property. Or it could just be
Why the distinction?
that we don't have to distinguish.
I think it raises more questions than it adds value. Diane, do you have an issue with that? I just find it confusing in that context.
Add more stormwater conveyances.
Yeah.
So if a stormwater conveyance was on a person's private property, they own it?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it'd be on their property.
It's already,
Unless there's an easement, like
Yeah.
a public access easement, or,
Okay.
well, there more than likely be an easement, but even if there's not, there could be like a permanent public access easement, which is like, essentially it's a public space.
yeah, see, when I read that, I thought about, oh, big company owns all the stormwater conveyances in the town. That's what I was
Well, maybe Dennis brings up a good point. Why do we need to have that? Why don't we
Yeah.
just like more stormwater conveyances?
I agree with you.
Anticipate property owned by
Yeah.
individuals.
it's still part of the property.
So how should it be?
Just take the word stormwater conveyances out. That's all.
Okay.
Do you need to have that much wording in that one then? In the public, can you just say the term public shall mean government owned or government operated?
Yeah, but she,
Or when used as a
example?
modifier, the term public when used as a modifier shall mean government owned or government operated?
I kind of like the way it is, because this speaks to not only town-owned property, but VDOT-owned property.
I also like how you had specifically said that it causes more questions, you know, to have so more advances, but if this doesn't, you know, if the definition doesn't really pose any questions, then it's probably okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like the way it is. What's your question with it, Diane?
So it says, when used as a modifier for such words as building, park, right-of-way, and similar words. Isn't this one of the problems we have when we use something like similar words?
then if you take that out there, then it would think that those are the only ones that you would use.
I agree, and that's why I would say I wouldn't put them in at all. The term public when used as a modifier shall mean government owned or government operated. When else would you use public as a modifier? I'm asking that question if anybody can come up with something.
Well, the implication is, this is all, okay. Is the reader of this going to understand this is all about land use? And if they don't understand it, then we need those details.
Yeah, like public event or public speaker.
It's just that, it's a modifier, so it would be a public or, you know, or public building. Versus
Either, yeah, or.
I mean, it can go that way. I mean, the term public when used as a modifier shall be government owned or government operated. I mean, that's, if somebody has to look up what the word modifier means, you know.
They can ask their phone.
You can simply say public, not private.
Right.
You know.
It's as simple as
I
that.
mean, it's right. Opposite of private.
Oh, that's not a definition.
I'm gonna take out as, I'm gonna take out. All right.
Too much fun here.
Jim's getting all excited out there.
Yes.
All right, any questions on these three assembly halls?
No.
Oh, geez.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I have Manchester is 5 and 6 yet. Libraries using
What is this building considered?
It would be a public building. It would be a, so how, it'd be a civic hall.
Do we have civic hall in here?
Mm-hmm, yeah, it's number 1. Number 4.
Oh, civic halls, okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, okay with it. What's the star for worship?
That's this.
Who's
Yeah.
that?
Oh, God, okay. Okay. This is all going to be, by the time we're finished with it, it's got to go to legal before it goes out to the public, right?
So we're gonna have this discussion and then we would have a public hearing and then we'd actually move to adopt what we, or make a recommendation. Well, no. Yeah, that would be the process.
Public.
Yeah.
Recommendation to council.
And then public and then council.
Public meeting.
Because you know how much that would cost. You know how much you would charge to review this thing?
Yeah,
Well,
members would be looking for that sort of thing.
You would think, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's all about making sure that we're not putting ourselves out there
I
for.
know, I hear you, and that's why
Yeah, public
Okay.
comment, for sure.
we got a good council.
Miscellaneous, So this is why I put this here. So public and semi-public facilities, so you had mentioned, well, it's specifically public and semi-public facilities. So something that's government owned does not have to conform to the zoning regulations. I think there's been some confusion on that. There's no point to build or to go through the BZA process when we can just change the regulations and make it fit with what we want. I know it's terrible, but.
So, big brother,
So you don't have to, you have no minimum parking space. All right, and then agriculture, et cetera, one space per employee. Temporary structures, which would include like, using connection with construction or special events, something like that. It's a temporary structure, it's gonna go away. Structure without foundation.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a trailer, right?
Yeah, trailer, or like a,
Construction trailer.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
now, when you changed both of these to none, but before you had, the town would regulate this on a case-by-case basis, which gives you a little bit more flexibility.
Well, that's the thing is we would determine if we needed, if there's no minimum parking requirement.
Well, let me tell you, when you put the word none in the air, that's, the person's gonna come in here.
Well, the person is gonna be the person's gonna be us, or maybe VDOT or something like that. And it's gonna, we're not gonna tell VDOT that they have to.
Well, okay, that's perhaps for the public piece of
Get
it,
their goat, yeah.
but the temporary structures, you have none also.
Yeah. And what would be the question on the temporary?
Well, why wouldn't you just say the town will regulate this on a case-by-case basis as opposed to writing the word none in?
Because we're never gonna make someone who has a temporary structure with that definition put in parking. There's no way that we're gonna say, you can't have your event tent here for this weekend because you can't provide off-street parking.
Right, but if you do what
He
he's
said
saying,
they at least have to
it
have.
gives you the choice, but if a
Right.
temporary structure is considered a construction trailer, it would be nice if they, even if they didn't have actual parking spaces, if they had room for their trucks to go. So it allows you to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it opens it up to, if necessary, governments in some way. So I'll change both of those to, for this, or,
Well, public one, I could buy you, that's our
Yeah.
home, right? It's really the temporary.
so change it to regulate this on a case by case
Yeah,
basis.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And temporary structure definition. Shared parking, C, we made it to C. This is your beast here, Diane.
Oh, yeah, I know.
All right. Let's see 1 and 2. Any questions there?
Well, I really don't understand one.
Essentially.
When would you say, oh, you can have less parking spaces?
But you have to have a written agreement on sharing with somebody else.
So first you have to have a written agreement, which would be, is that approved by us or just, that's just the way it goes?
Approved by the zoning administrator.
Okay, and so then if they come to you and say, gee, I really would like less, you can decide if they want, if they get less or not?
If it,
Somebody has access, certainly.
yeah, and if they have.
But I just don't see this ever happening. I'm not saying delete it, but there's words in here that agreement lasts perpetuity, you know, and it's like, what business is going to ever sign up for something like that?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know, on a temporary basis for 2 months, or until you get established 6 months, or that's fine for an agreement. But no, we're asking that they fulfill their parking, and if they can't and borrow somebody else's, that's gotta be forever.
Because then, yeah, it's gotta be.
So I'm not asking again to take this out, I just don't ever see this coming into play.
So it's not by the owner or by the person who's renting the space. If you allow them to share parking at Rayfield's, let's say Rayfield's.
There you go, he has access to be able to provide 3 more spaces that somebody needs.
Except for the people across the street from
Right.
Kellogg building.
But
Then
we
that
would-
is for the entire life of the universe.
Well, we'll get into more details on that, but the whole point of this is that, you know, they'll come and we'll have written documentation, they're providing 3 spaces, and then if someone else comes, say someone built something, you know, I don't know where the Chesapeake Bay property is, something goes in there, and they want shared parking with Gray Fields, then we can say, okay, well, they've already got 3 spaces delineated towards the Kellogg building, how many more are they allowed to give with what their requirements are? So we have that documentation to where it's not just like, you know, yeah, you can do it.
See, item 4 says shared parking spots in perpetuity, a document filed with the town.
Where did this come from?
This is from
Where did the shared parking come from?
this specific came from the Chambly ordinance from Chambly, Georgia, that I implemented.
I think what Paul was saying is, I can't ever imagine us having a shared parking arrangement here in town.
Do you know if that happened?
Well, we have a shared parking arrangement through using the gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
With all the people in the C1 district that's within 600 feet or something like that, they have to get written approval from the town manager. It's either town manager or town zoning ordinance.
Yeah, but you don't ever come up with that parking space, you never come up with, oh, whoops, they're all gone.
Well, that's the thing, we don't. But this way we would, well, I don't think they have to do they just have to ask permission. They don't have to say, hey, this is how many we're gonna use, and we document that. There's nothing like that. It's just written in our ordinance now that they can do it.
And we can
with
close
permission.
that parking lot up at any given time,
Yeah,
right? So that's just kind of a convenience for them right now.
I understand the in perpetuity, but I don't like the in perpetuity. I think that gets us into a
I
lot
think
of
any business
trouble.
would be very reticent to go on that
Yeah,
path.
they would.
And I don't think the town would ever agree to something like that.
Well, careful, because once we do a CUP, it goes with the property. That's effectively in perpetuity.
That's
All
exactly
I'm
right.
saying though,
So,
we
we've
would
done,
never-
gone on that path before.
we would never share parking, in my mind, with town parking.
Oh, okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. That I agree with.
That-
Yes,
That's
yes.
tying the town down,
Yep, yep.
and we
Yeah.
will not do that.
so
No, no.
the whole in perpetuity thing is to, you know.
Yeah, I understand the importance.
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
So if, you know, if someone's gonna come in and build this, you know, this building,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have enough parking, and then they get a shared parking arrangement with someone else, and then they build that building and it's not in perpetuity, then, and they cancel
Oh,
that
they
plan,
short circuit
they've
the
already
parking.
built this building,
Yeah, yeah, okay, got
and
it.
they could even have like a backdoor agreement.
Okay, fair enough.
And if somebody buys the building that is giving the parking, they're buying it with the understanding that then this person goes out of business, the next guy who comes along has 3 spaces. Forever.
Yes.
I hate that whole thing.
If we, yeah, okay, but if we don't allow shared parking, and we gotta figure out shared parking, that's really important, because not just new construction aside, I can understand where new construction, it's not that important. But not new construction on the C1 district, you're gonna have buildings that have to be demolished in order to provide parking,
The
without
other,
shared parking.
to our earlier discussion, the building decides to go up rather than out, what other choice, given that they fixed?
They wouldn't be able to do it. There would be no modification to any
Yep.
building downtown
You got a height restriction.
or any.
Well, that
new-
too, but I mean,
Yeah.
presuming you're a single story and you wanna go to a second story, you gotta provide parking based on that new.
Or get a variance.
Exactly.
That's one.
Well,
way
and
to
that's
do it.
what has been happening, they get variance after variance after variance, which makes no sense at all. I mean, if you're giving that many variances, then it really should somewhere be written, so you don't have to give all those variances. But I don't really see anybody doing this either. You'd have to be crazy to do this if you were the owner of the parking spaces.
Well, they could have
But,
some sort of monetary arrangement. I don't know. I mean,
What
that's
do you mean?
between them. If I'm giving you 3 spaces, you
In
pay me
perpetuity?
$1,000, yeah. Off. I don't know, there could be some sort of
I want us to really think seriously about this, because right now, we gave it, the Board of Zoning Appeals gave a conditional use permit for Cool Eats. Cool Eats doesn't want to open. If they have someone who can lease it, they will lease it, otherwise it's going to sit there. It can sit there and as long as 3 years. And if somebody comes up during that 3 years, then it can become all kinds of things. So we've got to be more careful when we do things that last for long periods of time like this. So maybe we should rethink shared parking. Are there other shared parking that we can look at, other towns and places?
I would encourage you guys to look at shared parking outside of this and come up to your own conclusions and propose ideas. You know, because this is what I, am proposing,
That's fair.
and we're not even really touching it. You know, no one's really on board with what this is. So, if you have another idea that you think would serve this town better,
Okay, why don't we come back and revisit this?
yes, I agree. That's fine.
And I think this is probably a good way to segue out of.
Yeah.
I just have a question on this topic, and we'll get to this, closing the meeting. Does the lessor of the shared agreement have to be another property owner?
Yes,
That's important, that's vitally important, because without a financial interest, you could have some fly-by-night
Yeah.
come
If I was
through
just renting the place, yeah.
doing nefarious stuff like a drug dealer.
Definitely.
You could have the golf cart place renting out the parking lot that isn't theirs.
I think that 10 square block place in Los Angeles. You know about that, it's Water City.
Oh, okay, all right.
So y'all don't want to go through, y'all don't want to keep going through bicycle parking?
No,
That's the best one.
no, it's 8 o'clock.
Exactly.
It's 8 o'clock.
That's right.
So excited.
It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's,
If I look up shared parking, I'm not good at searching. Do I just look up shared parking, or do I look up various
Do like
cities?
shared parking
In Virginia.
ordinances,
Shared parking
Yeah,
ordinances.
you gotta play.
or shared parking regulations. It
Yeah.
would probably bring you to something like what we have, like an ordinance that we have to kind of decipher, but.
so we're in
Okay.
here, shared parking.
Or you'll get news articles on somebody fighting, and that's where the newspaper then picks up.
Yeah.
You'll get some information there.
All right.
Should be left off.
Well, sure.
Let me pick up shared.
The
Yeah.
next
All right.
3 are pretty quick, so that'll be good for the next meeting.
You think so?
Bicycles?
I think so.
All right,
These are my 3.
moving on. Any other business? Any announcements? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.